The reason tonight is really special is that we're about to witness the very last appearance of Dame Joan Sutherland on the opera stage. She sang her last complete opera, Les Huguenots, in Australia at the Sydney Opera House back in October. But because of her very special affection for the Royal Opera House here in London, her musical home for so many years in the early part of her career, she's decided to make her final appearance here on her favourite stage. To mark the occasion, we've asked a number of famous people from the world of opera right across the globe to join us in a tribute to Dame Joan Sutherland.
The wonderful characteristic of the voice of Joan Sutherland is this lovely floating sound which she produced. And it's really one of these very, very few singers who has unlimited range.
Joan brought the best, probably, in this century, a unique combination of richness and agility of voice.
You cannot describe, other than you can say, Joan Sutherland is the voice of the century for me.
It's a sort of heaven instrument, and the way it floats through the air is like a smooth feather in your face. It's something very, very special.
It's a phenomenal voice, isn't it? I mean, it's one of the world's greatest, if not the greatest, soprano voice, certainly that I've ever heard.
When I started off in New Zealand, Joan Sutherland was an incredible golden idol way down there when all hopes had been given up for any of us to be able to either sing, do any sort of have any sort of musical life, and there was Joan Sutherland doing it, but of course with the most glorious voice in the world.
Hello, Joan, darling. Can you hear me? It's Dame Edna here, and I'm thrilled to hear about Fledermaus tonight. I wish I could be there in person, but this is my voice coming to you from Australia, where we both come from. And I'm very, very happy that you're still on stage tonight giving your farewell performance. You know, my career began with a farewell performance. Yes, I didn't ever think of myself as an actress, and I gave a little farewell to some of my friends, and it was the start of my career. Who knows, this performance of yours tonight could be the start of a new career opportunity for you. You could guide Japanese tourists around the opera house, or give little lectures, or sit in one of those buses. I adore you, Joan, and I'm thinking of you tonight. Lots of love from Dame Edna. Bye.
Australian air seems to breed beautiful voices. When I met this young lady, she was unknown. Today, she is world famous. Joan Sutherland.
I conducted most of the opera she sang for about the first 5 years. And we had a great relationship. We used to fight like hell because she was very slow at in those days. She was very inexperienced. She had a wonderful voice. And while we liked each other personally, I got exceedingly impatient. I was much less patient then than I am now. And I used to get very ratty with her, but she used to laugh it off.
I was sent for by David Webster, who said, we've got this Australian girl in the company now who has done very little and is a bit scared of walking about the stage. He said, but we think she has a voice of international potential. And this was in 53, 54, which was pretty smart. And he said, you know, will you take her away and see if you can turn her into an actress? She never felt she had an attractive personality. Joan always felt she was sort of large and plain, and you know, nobody cared for her. So one had to sort of say, look, you know, you've got a terrific presence, use it.
Joan did her first Lucia at the Metropolitan with me, and I will never forget it. I play her brother, you know, she's my sister, and it's the loveliest sister I've ever had. However, at rehearsals we met, and she was so charming and a great colleague and fun. It was a very successful evening. It was a sensational evening. I loved bowing with her when we took bows. People threw flowers at her, and she handed me a flower. And we became very good friends. It was very, very dramatic, and it was a great, great evening. And you knew then that this was an international star.
Wow! Would I like to play a part with Joan? Woo-woo!
Donizetti's opera is based on a tragic story by Sir Walter Scott. It's full of drama and even a little blood.
Oh! Billy's a gentle soul.
Billy, some of the most wonderful music in opera goes with the goriest stories. Lucia's one of my favorite roles.
Lucia, there's a truly gentle soul.
Too gentle for what life deals out to her.
I have heard her, I believe, for the first time in the famous Lucia production of Covent Garden, but not in the performance, but in the rehearsal. It was an orchestra rehearsal, and we were there together, Maria Callas, my husband, and I, and Maria Callas immediately recognized that that was going to be her successor, and there was the one person who could sing that repertoire as famously well as she did herself.
When I was at the Old Vic in 1960-61, I worked with Franco Zeffirelli, who directed Romeo and Juliet. And then he went on to direct Lucia de Lammermoor at the Garden. And after we'd opened and the play was running and in repertoire at the Vic, he asked if I'd like to go to the first night with Dame Joan singing. And I have this very, very vivid picture of the curtain going up and seeing this loch. You saw this wonderful piece of Scotland and a loch and everything through a mist, and you saw her sitting there with that great, wonderful red hair and a shawl round her shoulders. And that first image I'll never forget. Of course, followed by the image when she comes down the stairs and in her nightie in the mad scene. And what was very nice is that afterwards we went to a party, and I think that Franco Zeffirelli had given her as a present a Russian wedding ring for the performance, and he had also given me a Russian wedding ring for Juliet. So I feel very proud when I look and see this ring on my finger and know that she's got one, and they were both from the same person.
She's had a tremendously long, successful career. It's very difficult to get to the top, we all know that. But to be able to stay there and to be able to keep this flawless vocal technique and to be able to give pleasure to so many people for so many years, this is something incredible. When I first started at Covent Garden, Joan was a wonderful inspiration. I remember there was a young tenor, quite unknown, and we often sat in the canteen talking. And this was Luciano Pavarotti. And he became Joan's favorite partner. They sang many, many operas together. And I thought they were very well suited. And of course, Luciano went on to become himself very, very famous, as we know.
We are still selling beautifully our record today, and the memory that we have together, they are too fresh. I don't believe that Joan is going to retire. For me, she's singing. For me, she will sing in my heart for at least a couple of decades more. And one day when I will retire myself, I think that she retired. Believe me, it's a great loss. Other soprano are fantastic, are everything, but to move me vocally, first you need something super special, and second, it must have the voice inside something with heart. And you hear when Joan Sutherland goes I with the voice, then the heart is there. Is there the heart when I mean heart courage? Is there the heart when I mean heart expression? And that is her beauty.
We were singing both of them at different operas, of course. She was doing Puritani. And when I arrived in the dressing room, she just left because it was an afternoon performance for her. And I found it in the mirror, writing with the lipstick, "Be well tonight, because I have been very well this afternoon, so don't let the house down."
She has this aura of being, this great diva, but in reality, she's just a very warm, down-to-earth lady.
I can still remember clearly sitting in rehearsals, many rehearsals and recordings, with Joan sitting doing her tatting. And then, out of the blue, being asked to sing, okay, you're next, your aria, whatever it is, and popping out top Ds and, where everybody else had been clearing their throats, doing a warm-up outside for hours. She just has this ability to switch from something perfectly normal, to singing.
She never undertook too much work, she never undertook roles which weren't suitable for her, and she really organized her life in the most wonderful manner. Broadened her repertoire throughout her career, undertook a lot of recordings, but never ever did too much. But a lot of it is due to incredibly hard work on her part, and particularly work with her husband, Richard Bonning, because it was Ricky who saw in Joan the real possibility of developing a singer who could sing, and sing wonderfully well, the bel canto repertoire.
I think of the pleasure it's been to work with all those colleagues over the years, the different operas that I've sung in the house over the years, the pleasure it's given me, and I hope the pleasure it's given other people in the audience. It has been a long and wonderful career, and I really feel that Covent Garden did very well by me in those early days, that I had the opportunity to work in so many different roles, small and large. Our careers have pretty much been dictated by what was offered, and I think that my retired life will be the same way. I don't really want to make any fixed plans. I want to see what happens.
It must be very difficult to say, I'm going to step down now. So I'm sure that she won't just step down. She'll always be involved in music, and I hope that because Joan has been such an inspiration to all of us, I just hope that if whatever she wants to do, she'll be very, very happy doing it and extremely healthy.
Your last performance, of course, is a lot of nostalgic and a lot of remembrance, a lot of beautiful times, because that theater, Covent Garden, has been a theater for you. So great, knowing you, knowing Richard, the way you are, the way you enjoyed life. I think that there is time for everything. How wonderful to be able to choose the time to go, you know, to say, okay, I'm going and I'm going to enjoy life. What can I tell you? Happiness, all happiness in life with Richard, and Martha and me will love you very, very dearly, and we'll miss you.
This is a changing world, my dear. New songs are sung, new stars appear. Oh, we grow older year by year, our hearts can still be gay. Young love at Christmas, a passing face, charming and foolish and blind. They be happy or wiser days when youth is far behind. Love is a charming symphony. When day is done and night grows near, no regrets, no mirthful tale. When living in a changing world, my dear.
A wonderful tribute there to Dame Joan Sutherland from illustrious names in the opera world all over the globe. There's a real air of anticipation now, knowing that in just a few minutes from now, Dame Joan Sutherland, La Stupenda herself, will be taking the stage for the very last time. It's a very moving moment for all of us, but particularly so perhaps for a lady who's been a vital part of Dame Joan's career for 25 years now. She's her costume designer, and she's joining me here just as the interval closes. Barbara Matera and her husband Arthur. You've designed, how many costumes can you possibly count over the last 25 years?
Well, it's very hard to count. It has been a lot, I should say. Many, probably hundreds, I think. But all of them have been a delight to do for her.
And how vital is it to Dame Joan that her costume is right?
Well, she always says that if she feels comfortable going on stage, that it's half the battle.
Yeah.
And she always was very complimentary about our work, and
it's a lot of work in that dress we've just seen.
That's an Esclarmonde that we did for San Francisco, and it's true that she really was a joy to dress, though, whatever we did for her.
How long does it take to make an average costume? There is such a lot of work in them.
Well, that one was done in very, very quickly because we didn't have much time. It was done in 10 days for her, and we whizzed out to San Francisco to fit it on her. And
wanted 10 weeks.
Needed.
Because she made a comment I read in the newspaper recently that actually the costumes are very heavy, and that she said she had quite a lot of weight to carry of her own, let alone the heavy costumes.
Yes, sometimes they have been very heavy, but she always went along with whatever the designs were, like a Trojan. And yes, I mean, she's just been in that way. She will do anything that the designer wants if it's right for her, she says.
Tonight's dress, I know, is very special. It's a surprise for her, isn't it?
Yes, it was a surprise. It was a Christmas present, I understand, from Richard Bonning, her husband, and we were very happy to be in on it. You know.
What were his orders?
Not to tell her anything until Christmas Day, and that's when she knew about it.
Well, Barbara, thank you very much indeed. I know he wanted a ship in full sail, and it's his favourite colour, green.
That's right.
So I look forward to seeing it. We're going to see that wonderful dress in just a few minutes. It's absolutely buzzing there. A tremendous moment. A truly wonderful dress there. Well done. It's sad, though. It's a very emotional moment to see Dame Joan making her final appearance on the very same stage that launched her to overnight stardom almost 40 years ago. That was in Zeffirelli's production of Lucia de Lammermoor. Luciano Pavarotti and Marilyn Horne are known to be bitterly sorry at her retirement. Over the years, Pavarotti says he's learnt so much from her. He says he should carry on singing for several more decades. Certainly it's the end of a legendary partnership and a great vacuum, I think, now on the opera stage. I'm joined now by the music critic Hugh Canning. Here in the Crush Bar, where people are gradually once more coming for some refreshment after that stimulating piece. Hugh Canning, what did you think about that performance? What did it bring to you?
It's very sad to see her go, really. I mean, that she's one of the great legends of our lifetime, and especially in this theatre. It was where she began her international career, and I think we must remember that she started, 7 years before her overnight stardom, and I think the point about her is that she worked very, very hard over the years to achieve that stardom. And I think that, Ted knows her, my colleague Ted Greenfield from The Guardian knows her personally well. One thing I think that you will agree with, Ted, everybody says about Joan Sutherland that there's no one really like her in the profession, and that, 35 years of stardom haven't spoiled her at all.
It's the sense of wonder that Joan still has to this very day that is absolutely marvellous. She doesn't regard herself as a goddess apart. She is one of us, sharing her joy with this wonderful technique that she's always had, and it's lasted all these years. Absolutely fantastic.
Must have been an emotional moment for her, I should think.
Oh yes, but I'm sure it was a moment of joy as much as of sorrow. I looked very carefully through my opera glass to see whether she was crying, but I don't think she was. I think, unlike a lot of people, she did really enjoy the occasion too.
And everybody does say that as well as being a tremendous performer, she was also a lovely person to work with and as a friend.
Oh, absolutely. I always remember getting a lovely idea of her when I ran into her in the Grand Rue in Montreux. We were doing a record critic award, and a fellow critic and myself were there, and there she was in her old raincoat carrying a shopping bag, and we said, "Oh, Joan, what are you doing now, you see?" And she said, "Oh, just a few somnambulas at the Met," as though it was part of going shopping. And she did a little, she said, I'm getting a bit long in the tooth for that. This was 22 years ago. And she just tripped across the stage, sending herself up. Now, no other diva in the history of opera, I think, would ever have done that. And it's the greatness of them.
Yes. Traditionally, you expect temperament, don't you? But you don't get it there.
None at all.
She's a lady of great stature, too, isn't she?
Yes, I think so. And I think Ted mentioned her technique, and I think that is really what singles her out. And I think that, above all, she's an example to singers after, in the generations after. And I think that it'll be a long time before we hear, I mean, in her heyday, I mean, remember her in Lucia di Lammermoor in 5 years ago. I mean, she was nearly 60, and the results were absolutely staggering. I think that's what I would like to remember her for. The mad scene in Lucia in 1985, and a woman approaching 60, but still with those wonderful blazing top notes, which I'd never heard anything like it before, I must say.
Can there be a successor to her, do you think?
Well, I think that this combination of a very rich and beautiful voice, tremendous flexibility, unbelievable flexibility, and yet a great size, that this was a voice that could have been a Wagnerian voice, and she was almost led astray into that. But and wasn't it wonderful today when she was saying that in fact she had a career that was way beyond anything she ever expected. I can't think many other sopranos would have ever said that.
Think it's the end of an era?
Oh, I think so, definitely. I mean, they're larger-than-life personalities. We've just seen 3 big, old-fashioned operatic stars. We don't get them like that, and they just don't make them like that anymore. The world has changed. I mean, the theatre is becoming more and more important, and singing, perhaps unfortunately, less. And I think that those old-fashioned, wonderfully schooled voices are very much dying out. People are pushing too much for quick and easy stardom, and all of these singers, Dame Joan more than any of the others, did their apprenticeship work, and they worked hard to achieve what they did. Now people want literally overnight success, coming out of school and achieving stardom straight away. Well, you can't do it, and I think that the great 35-year career shows that the grounding is absolutely vital.
It certainly seemed like an end of an era, seeing the 3 of them up there on stage. I've just spotted Jermaine Greer here. Hello, Jermaine.
Hello.
I know you're known to us, of course, as a writer and a broadcaster, but perhaps people don't know that you do a bit of opera singing yourself.
I don't. Oh no, don't say that. That's too embarrassing. Actually, I can barely talk to you because I realise the whole era in my life has come to an end. Because in 1960, I knew about Joan Sutherland because she was a big star already. But I had to sing, I was understudying in a university production of Acis and Galatea, and so I listened to her performance with Sir Adrian Boult and Peter Pears, and I just couldn't believe that the human voice could do what she was doing. They're the most beautiful ornaments written for that, and they've got dozens, hundreds of notes, some of them, and she sang everything absolutely in tune, even a note that lasted a millisecond. It was like diamond chips. It was like lightning, energized Handel. I thought boring old Handel, and suddenly there was electric old Handel. And if I have a regret, is that she didn't do more of that kind of thing. She didn't sing more Mozart, she didn't sing more Handel. She was working again on Handel with Christopher Hogwood in the late 80s. I can't believe she's stopping singing. I don't believe it. It's like somebody telling me that Niagara Falls had stopped falling. It's not possible. Do you know the one thing I wish for her? Once you begin to sing the way she has sung all her life, you stop singing for joy because you're not allowed. You're only allowed to sing for a certain amount of time a day, and you've got to get the voice in the right position. I hope that now she can sing for joy and she can listen to her own instrument. It's reedier now than it was. It's not the platinum voice of then. But she's so wonderful and she is such a phenomenon. But the thing that's never stressed enough is that she is a really great musician. People seem to think of her as Trilby, who's being organised by someone else. She's not. She's a musician of extraordinary tact and great musicianship. And please, 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 I hope she can bear to help younger singers. We lose a dozen young sopranos a year because they manage their voices wrong.
Do you think any more are coming up from Australia? There was Nellie Melba, of course, the legendary.
But why do you think she sang Home Sweet Home? I was hoping she'd sing it in a parody of the way that Dame Nellie used to sing it. Dame Nellie, Dame Joan, there'll be many more dames. Australia makes singers. partly because we have unpolluted air. We have lots of calcium in our diet. It makes big jaws and big heads and ringing sound. That's where the sound comes from, up here, not down here. And we'll have more Australian singers, but I just hope that Joan helps to take care of them, because we lose too many young singers every year.
Yeah, I'm sure she will, and thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure, ma'am.
Very soon we'll be starting the third act. The party scene has ended in mayhem and mass arrest, and we now switch to the town jail. The role of Frosh the jailer is traditionally played by a non-singer, a comedian usually, and traditionally it's both a risky and a risque role. John Sessions is Frosh in this particular production. Hello John, welcome to the Crush Bar.
The very crush bar.
Very crushed, isn't it? Was it a daunting prospect for you joining an opera?
Very much so. You know, it's like, you know, somebody goes from A to B in a boat, somebody goes from A to B in a car. You're both going from A to B, but a different means of propulsion, you know. So doing this part, you know, I'm the only sort of just solo actor. I've got no tunes. There was talk of me joining in the final chorus, but I thought, 100 and whatever a ticket to hear me sing, you know. So it was a bit daunting, but Rhys Jones did it a couple of years ago, and he told me in an absolute ball, so here we go.
So it was a good prospect. But
I've got a great costume.
A great costume?
Yeah,
yes.
Very beautifully made to measure.
Lovely colour.
Best piece of clothing I've got. Yeah, exactly.
It must be rather strange with a huge orchestra pit below you too.
It's fabulous. I do some stuff with the band, you know, with Ricky's band, you know. And, oh, it's great fun. I mean, it's so utterly different from anything I've ever done before. I don't think I'll be asked back, you know, unless there's any more speaking parts, you know.
Did you write the material yourself? I know John Mortimer did the translation.
John Mortimer wrote most of it, but he's very, very kind and generous about, you know, chuck a gag in here, chuck a joke in there. So it's a kind of an amalgam. Most of the dialogue is not to be changed, obviously, because people are dependent on cues, but the opening monologue, because I'm not as physical a comedian as, say, Griff was when he did it. He had more physical gags, so I've relied more on verbal things, which hopefully people will laugh at, and if they don't, I'm sorry.
I get the impression you change it a bit every night. It looks
Yeah, there'll be a few gags in tonight for the big in, you know, and then les autres.
What are your favourite gags?
Oh, mustn't preempt them, you know. But there's one about Pavarotti and a bar mitzvah, which I hope it gets Lala.
Do you think this is going to mark a new direction in your career now?
No, it might provide a very large full stop. I think. No, I don't know if I'll be back. Yeah, I'd love to be back in something. I don't know, maybe Fafnir the Dragon and the Ring Cycle, I don't know.
Has it changed any preconceptions you had about opera?
Not at all, because I go a lot. I love the opera. Come here quite a lot, and I go to E&O. Oh, should mention that. Quite a lot. And the opera singers are very much like athletes. They're not neurotic as actors. They're much more centred, nice folk. You know, you talk about food and singing and something else. Kind of know what it is all the time. You know?
And the evils of champagne, of course, which you're talking about later.
The evils of champagne. Very abstemious, this theatre. Or you won't see anybody rolling around backstage. And of course, cigarettes are absolutely out. You light a fag back there, you're lucky to come out in one piece.
Really? Well, in fairness, we did offer you a glass of champagne, but you refused it.
No, I've got to go and be an actor now, so I've got to get my comedy costume on.
Right.
And the comedy moustache.
You're on in not so very long, so I suppose I better let you go.
That's it. Go and whip into it.
Are you nervous?
I'm terrified. Yes, it's quite scary.
Well, all the best. Look
Thanks
forward
a
to the performance.
Thank you, Sue.
Bye, John. Coming up to us. And here, back in the Crash Bar, where people have spent between about £70 and £100 per ticket, I gather, I'm joined by director, writer and actor Stephen Burkoff. What did you think of the performance?
Well, I'm delighted not to have paid £100, let me say that. I'm a guest here and I find the performance quite enchanting. It's fascinating. It's wonderful to see Pavarotti and Sutherland, of course, to hear such brilliant instrumentalists. I often wonder, at the end of the day, what is it all for? It's a great animated chocolate box. It's a rather puerile story, brilliantly sung, wonderful technicians. The orchestra's a bit loud. I wish the orchestra wasn't always so loud and I can hear the text. Obviously, John Mortimer has sat at home. He's probably sat up nights, gone to the pub and written a very literate and very witty text. I wish I could hear more of it, and I don't understand why in opera the orchestra is always so loud and drowning out what they're singing. It must be a great strain on the singers. Apart from that, I did enjoy it, and I think there needs to be a little bit of revolution in the techniques of opera, of orchestra and singers, so that an ordinary person like myself can see an opera and know what the hell is going on. Well, apart from that, I enjoyed it.
The obvious answer is for you to direct one yourself.
Well, maybe I should.
Perhaps you should. I gather that
this Grace Bumper, isn't this wonderful? Come here, my old friend. Yes.
Hello, Grace.
Hello, how are you?
Grace, of course, is renowned as Carmen among many other roles. Do you think this man ought to perhaps play the role of Frosh? I gather he's been offered the jailer's part.
Oh, I'm sure he's done it many times before, haven't you?
No, I've never done it. I've been asked to do it by Peter Jonas of the E&O, but I'm not sure. I'll see John Sessions tonight and see what he does.
I think you should.
Okay, thank you. Lovely to see you.
It's my pleasure to see you.
What did you think of tonight? What was it like being there?
Well, for me, it's a very special evening because just 10 years ago, I was here doing it myself. But beyond that, I'm so delighted to be here, to be on the occasion where Joan is doing her farewell, and with her wonderful colleagues, you know, who she's been singing with all of her career, really. And for them to have come to pay this homage to her, I think it was absolutely wonderful. You know, we singers, we're all busy doing something else somewhere else. And to make time, to take the time out, to come here, to give homage to her, I think it's a wonderful, wonderful gesture. I enjoyed very much, first of all, the production is just splendid. The other singers are great. But to be here at Joan's day, Joan's evening, is a gift for me.
I felt like a little schoolgirl.
Pardon?
I felt like a little schoolgirl watching her there in that amazing dress. She looked like a fairy queen.
But you know, what was so beautiful was that simple little Home Sweet Home. It was so poignant, so moving. I mean, I had to go and freshen my makeup a little bit afterwards. But because it's, you know, when you've been singing all that time, singing is a very physical thing. And to have had that much energy for so many years and still to be in such good voice, it's amazing. It's just amazing. I hope that when I get her age, I'll be able to sing just like that. At least like that.
I look forward to hearing it. It's a privilege to see it, isn't it?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Grace.
My pleasure.
Over your shoulder, I just spotted Mr. Mortimer, who's done the translation, which is, I think, the icing on the cake, the translation. It's
Thank you very much.
Was it a very hard work to do it?
Well, it's terribly hard work because you have to fit, you know, English words into the music. You have to fit every syllable in and get the right stresses, and they can't have they must have open vowels behind it. By the time you've done that, you know, the jokes tend to slightly fade away. But it's nice to have jokes in the opera house.
Yes. Well, it is. How long did it take you to do it? Because it's quite topical too.
Yes, well, I put in new jokes every now and again. You know, took over about 2 years I was working on it. It takes a while before, you know, the Covent Garden audience think that they've got permission to laugh, but once they do, it's quite startling for the singers.
Are you still adding to it?
Yeah, we added to it for this one a few new jokes, like business dinners in prison and so on.
Yeah, we've got that to come, of course, in the third act.
Yeah.
But what did you think yourself, being present at the very last appearance of La Stupenda?
I thought it was absolutely stupendous. I'm hardly recovering from it. It was a great honour for me to have my words surrounding this wonderful moment.
Yeah. Do you think you're going to go on to translate other operas now?
Well, I am actually. I'm translating a Mozart opera he never finished. So it's hard but very rewarding.
As somebody who's a great Italophile, I thought maybe you should translate an Italian one next.
Well, I think Italian is so beautiful to sing that perhaps you should leave Italian alone. But German is all right to translate.
There's one thing you've succeeded in, that operas translated into English often sound really rather ridiculous, but this one's okay, it's not repetitive.
Yes, well, I try to keep it sort of a bit racy and a bit like people can understand, you know, a bit down-market translation, really, but it's fun.
Did you help the actors at all with the lines?
Yes, well, it's very difficult for opera singers to say lines because they tend to sing them. And it's quite hard to persuade them to throw away lines like actors can. So comic lines come quite hard to them. They tend to sing comic lines like a great aria, which isn't right. But they've got used to it.
Right, but we've got John Sessions' performance next, which I think he and you worked on together, didn't you?
Yes, well, we invented this Frosh. Frosh is usually played as a drunk, and I think drunk scenes are a bit tedious. So I made him a horrible little buttoned-up bureaucrat, like the warder in Porridge. And originally Rhys Jones played him. So I work on it with comics, which is great fun.
Well, John, thank you very much indeed. I'm looking forward to the third act, and I've enjoyed the whole thing. Thank you.
Very nice to be here.
And I'm just joined by Viviana Durante and Stuart Cassidy. Of course, you had to go on and do that wonderful pas de deux. Congratulations on a terrific performance, but it was a hard act to follow, wasn't it?
Yes,
It was, yes. We thoroughly enjoyed it though, it was great.
It's so nice to work with the opera, because it's something you don't normally do in the ballet, because we're never in the house at the same time. So it's really nice to work with them.
Is it very different working with opera people from other dancers?
Very much so. I mean, there's no criticism at all. I mean, when you're working with a room full of dancers, everyone's always criticising, watching you all the time, but when you're with opera, they just enjoy it.
They just love you, whatever you do, which is wonderful.
So just
we
relax.
really enjoy it.
It's a lovely relief from the singing in a way. It was sort of, they blend together beautifully.
Yes, yes.
Are you an opera goer yourself?
Well, we can't really do it because when we're on stage, we can't.
We're never at the opera house at the same time. That's right. But I do love opera. I sort of tend to watch it whenever I can.
Have you got a video recording of tonight?
Yes, we have.
Because it really will go down in history, won't it?
Yes, that's right.
It's nice to be part of it.
Yes, fantastic dress and a wonderful occasion.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Hugh, rounding off the interval to a fantastic performance, really.
Yes, it's a pity we won't be going back to hear them again, really.
I think something has to be said about Luciano.
Yes,
and he's
that's true.
as great a phenomenon as she is, the same big bony head, the same bell of a voice, and that he should give himself so generously on this occasion. I can't think, can you think of any other tenor who would do that?
No, and also
for a great diva. He's a great star. He'll be around for another 30 years. That's the thing that's not fair. I mean, she's finished and he's in the middle, right?
Yes, I think
You reckon?
so. But I think she's chosen the right time to go, really. I think that, all great things come to an end.
But she mustn't go too far.
No.
She doesn't have to do it all herself now, but she knows things that other young singers do not know.
Yes.
And if she I don't want her to turn her back on us, and I want her to realise that we do know she's a great musician. We don't think she's a nightingale.
Let's hope she passes it on to the younger generation, because really she's very badly needed in that field anyway.
That could be a real vocation for her in the next decades to come, couldn't it? I know Pavarotti said he wanted to just carry on singing for the next few decades, so maybe
Yes, but
she'll
not necessarily in
through
huge
other
opera
people.
houses. There are other places to sing,
Thank you very much indeed. The bells are going, so I'll let you take your seats for the final act.
Bye.
Bye.